Boom. What is going on? So in today's video, I am going to show you the experience I had at my honeymoon eating 3 weeks straight of breakfast first thing in the morning. And I'm also going to show you my top 2 diet secrets that no one has ever told you. I'm going to say 99% chance that no one has ever said these to you. Most likely, I'm just making an assumption, but probably, yeah, they probably haven't told you. So, are you ready? Are you ready to hear this? Buddy, are you ready? All right, what is going on? It is Dan Go from Optimize Alpha, where we help high-achieving entrepreneurs get lean, lose weight, and develop amazing, incredible bodies so they can transform their businesses and every single part of their lives. And today, I want to talk to you about my experience by eating breakfast first thing in the morning. And I'm also going to show you the top 2 secrets that probably no one ever tells you about diets. And every single time I tell my clients this, they kind of go crazy because they're like, holy shit, I never realized that about dieting. So I'm going to go through those and they're going to bleed into what I'm talking about. So recently I went on a amazing, fantastic, incredible honeymoon with my wife. Pretty much I am married. And we went to Sri Lanka, we went to Maldives, and it was just one of the most incredible trips ever. Some experiences from that, I'll cut into it right now.
Hey. All right, go water, Jaguar.
Here in my garage. All right, and welcome back. So my honeymoon was just freaking epic. And during the honeymoon, we had pretty much open bar, open buffet style type of foods available to us. And I was just like, you know what? They're giving us free breakfast. And in the name of science, I am going to eat breakfast first thing in the morning and see exactly what happens as a result. In the name of science, of course. And I'm usually a guy that just doesn't really like having breakfast first thing in the morning. I've actually forced myself before to have breakfast because I was told it was the most important meal of the day. Then afterwards, I realized I didn't have to do that because the science never supported it, because meal frequency has no effect on your metabolism whatsoever. And I'll have a link to the studies, the multiple studies down below. And I just decided, okay, well, they're giving us free breakfast. This is amazing. We're in the Maldives, we're in Sri Lanka. I can't wait to try their food out, so I'm gonna do it. So I went 21 days eating breakfast first thing in the morning, and I'm coming from a paradigm where I just don't really like having breakfast. So I started eating breakfast, and there's 3 things that I learned. Lesson number 1 is I started to get hungry first thing in the morning. It didn't start off, it actually took about maybe 5 days. But after about 5 days, my stomach started to grumble first thing in the morning. And every single morning that I'd wake up, it would be like it needed to eat. It needed calories in their bodies. Now, for a lot of people, this is the case if they eat breakfast first thing in the morning, because what you have to realize is that when it comes down to hunger, hunger is essentially a habit. And the more that you are consistent with the times that you eat, the more your hunger is going to follow as a result. So if you eat first thing in the morning, guess what? You do that enough times, your body's gonna get hungry first thing in the morning. One thing that I realized when I started eating first thing was that, hey, guess what? Your hunger actually correlates with the times that you eat it. And that's actually secret number 1. Your hunger is very much like a dog, okay? And when we're talking about the weight loss game, we're really talking about calories in and calories out. I like to think about it as if you want to lose weight, then you focus on calories. If you want to lose weight and look good, you focus on the quality of those calories. And that goes with like the hormonal output of the calories that you're eating. So when it comes to hunger and when it comes to dieting, hunger or controlling your hunger is about 50% of the game when you're trying to diet for weight loss. So what happened? I started to get hungry first thing in the morning. Lo and behold, started happening. And even when I got back to Toronto, I still was hungry first thing in the morning. And it took me about 1 week to kind of adapt out of that. And that usually is the time that it takes for the bodies to adapt out of a breakfast eating schedule. Another thing I found is that this is actually lesson number 2. So lesson number 2 is you are apt, or you will be taking in more calories as a result of eating breakfast. Just think about the timing of your meals. So if you're eating at like 8 a.m. in the morning and you're eating all the way till about 7 p.m. at night, that's a good 11 hours of feeding time. That's a lot of time for eating calories or for consuming calories going into your body. So another thing I learned when I was down there, or I actually knew this already, but fuck it, in the name of science, I did it. I knew that I was actually taking in more calories. And when I stepped on the scale, by the time I got home, again, people call it vacation weight. I call it breakfast weight. I gained about 5 pounds of weight when I got home. But it didn't really take me that long to kind of like remove it. It took me maybe like 2 more weeks of just like solid eating. But again, when you add all these calories in, when you have breakfast, when you have snacks, when you have lunch, and then you have a snack in between that, then you have dinner, guess what? That's a lot of calories to try to contain within one day. I find it much easier if you have less meals to eat throughout the day. And for a lot of entrepreneurs that I know, this is actually way more convenient for them than to actually eat consistently every 2 hours, because the less meals that you have, the less you have to think about. And I'm gonna link to a video on the best diet for entrepreneurs. It should be somewhere up there in like the little iCard. And one thing that I found is that with entrepreneurs, less is more. When you don't have to think about what you're eating, and actually when you have less food in your stomach, you actually perform at a higher level. In the fasted state, that's when we're at our best. So another thing that I learned is just like, hey, guess what? When you are eating breakfast first thing in the morning, lesson number 3, I started to get lethargic. I started to lack energy. I started to get a little bit more tired. I had kind of like the afternoon lull in the morning right after my breakfast. And for a lot of people, what they're doing is like they're going into the coffee shops doing some work and they're eating an almond or an almond croissant just to kind of like, get through their workday, when they don't realize that this is actually taking energy away from themselves. So the afternoon lull is a real thing, but it's only because of the times that they eat and the foods that they eat it with. So when I was eating breakfast, I actually found that right after breakfast, my body was bloated. I was starting to feel a little bit lackadaisical. I didn't really want to go out and snorkel right away. I wanted to chill. I wanted to relax. And when you eat breakfast first thing in the morning, or if you're so used to eating breakfast first thing in the morning, you may be used to this kind of energy throughout the entire day. One thing that I realized when I was talking to one of my entrepreneur clients, because after we put him on a fasting schedule, he started to get more energy. He started to have more focus. And his attention deficit disorder actually started to dwindle a little bit. He could actually focus on projects for long periods of time without food in his stomach. And he actually told me, it's like, I didn't realize I had this amount of energy and this amount of focus when I didn't have food. And a lot of people are walking around like zombies right now, lacking energy because of the fact that they are just putting their bodies through a digestive process that takes energy. They're eating foods that make them bloated in the morning. So one of the things that you have to realize, and I'm going to go into fat loss secret number 2 right here, is the less hours that you give yourself to eat, the shorter your time frame of eating, the better it's going to be for controlling calories, but also for your energy levels. Okay, so here's what I mean. So let's just say you're eating your first meal at 8 a.m., you're eating your last meal at 7. That's about an 11-hour feeding window. I put my clients on probably to start an 8-hour feeding window, especially if they're eating breakfast, right? Because I don't want to like close up this feeding window too small to the point where they're going to be freaking starving, because hunger is an adaptive process and we have to mold it, and we have to do it very slowly in a way where they can actually adapt and get used to it. Okay, so let's just say I put my clients on an 8-hour feeding window. We have them eating at 12, 4, and 8. And eventually what happens is they start gravitating towards shorter eating windows. So an example would be myself. I started with 12, 4, 8. Okay, a meal schedule of 12, 4, 8. I actually realized that at the 4 p.m. I wasn't really that hungry, so I didn't really have to eat. And at 12 p.m. I wasn't necessarily hungry. I was actually forcing myself to eat. So I pushed my first meal back to about 2 or 3 p.m. And then that actually worked for me. And a lot of times people will tell you, oh my God, you're starving yourself, your metabolism's going to slow down, and all this kind of BS, because this is essentially what you've been fed through by food companies. They want you to eat breakfast. They want you to eat multiple meals a day. It is not in their bottom line. It does not help their bottom line if they actually promote intermittent fasting. That's all I gotta say. It's not in their bottom line if they promote breakfast skipping, because we're basically taking money away from them and we're keeping it for ourselves. It's not in their best interests. That's why you have a lot of people that are just like brainwashed into thinking that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That's why you get people brainwashed into thinking that they have to snack in between meals because their metabolism's gonna slow down. The thing is that your metabolism is a 24-hour process. If it wasn't a 24-hour process, then by the time you go to sleep, if you didn't have meals, then if it shut down, you would actually die, because a big part of your metabolism is making sure that your bodily processes work on a regular basis. Things like your heart pumping, your blood pumping, things like your lungs working, breathing, digestion. These are all part of the metabolic process that people don't really talk about. And the frequency of meals, again, the amount of meals that you have throughout the day and the times that you eat them have no effect on your metabolism whatsoever. So, with that being said, if anyone ever tells you that you are starving yourself, that your metabolism is going to slow down, that and they just keep on giving you all this common, just common kind of like advice that the food industry gives you, just don't say anything, don't get violent or anything like that. But what I would say is, just understand that you know what the truth is. And the truth is that you can have your meals whenever you want. You can have as many meals as you want. The true secret to a diet is doing it in a way that is sustainable for you and one that gets you the results that you want. And what I found that has worked for at least, like, I'm going to say like 95% of my clients, it would be skipping breakfast, pushing their first meals back, as far as their hunger will take them, okay, and that's an adaptive process, and also shortening up the time frames of which they eat. So I've learned a lot of things by doing this little experiment of mine, and if you currently eat breakfast right now, leave a comment down below, and then if you have any different experiences, please, like, let me know, and and at the same time, I want to hear about your experiences. Or if you're skipping breakfast right now, leave a comment down below and let me know exactly what your experiences are. So that is it for this particular video, and I hope you got a lot of value out of it. And yes, I'm trying to grow this video. I'm trying to help entrepreneurs right now kind of break past the common misconceptions about weight loss and fat loss, because a lot of times when I go into these masterminds and when I go to these business conferences, I see a lot of out of shape, out of health type of people who are just rocking it in their businesses, but really downplaying it when it comes to their health. And I want to do my best to reach as many of them as possible, because I love entrepreneurs. I think that you guys are creating amazing things in this world. So let me help you get better health, be in more confident bodies, so you can transform pretty much the whole world as a result. Okay, so if you like this video, or even if you like the things that I say, or if you're down with getting a healthier body, if you're down with leaning down, if you're down with being more confident about your physique, then click subscribe, click on that notification on the top, whatever it is, and I am gonna be talking to you very soon. And yes, fuck breakfast. Sucks, and you don't need it. Peace.